Do not need the
Hey.
metronome. Mics are rolling. Check, check.
Check.
Okay, we're live. It's Chicachar podcast. I got my friend here, Jesus Mauricio. Is that how I say it?
Yeah, but Chewy.
All right, but he goes by Chewy.
Chewy, yeah.
Let's see. We met. We were working together at the Big Dirty. That's
Yeah.
how we initially met. We were both doing
No,
security.
actually, we met before that.
Oh,
Remember?
did we?
Yeah, we met because of our Celicas.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay.
We would drive by each other and
Yeah.
we'd be like, oh, yeah.
So we both had the
Celica.
same 7th gen model Toyota Celica, and we were both building cars at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think actually I had some parts originally. I sold you some parts, right?
Yeah,
it
you
was a
spoiler.
wing and some other stuff for your
Yeah.
car.
Never put them on.
Do you still have that car?
Yeah. No, I still have it. It's runs great, but it's in shambles as always, like any other car build, right? It's
Okay.
like it's never complete.
Put that a little closer to you, and
All
then I just want to make sure we get the right.
All right,
signal.
how about now?
Yeah, I think that's good.
All right, maybe I'm just not talking loud enough.
Let me just scooch up the gain a little bit.
All right, bet.
But it's okay. Keep telling your story. You can keep going if you want.
Yeah. So yeah, we met. We became buddies just by like being Silica buddies, in a way. The Celica gang, and yeah, it was. I bought parts from you, which I never put on at all. Like the whole time, I've like had them in like a storage unit, never touched them.
Yeah.
The one time I was getting ready to put them on, I was like, wait, well, let me change the body up. So I took off all like the accents, so the bumpers, the
Yeah.
side skirts, everything, and then I ran into a situation where the person who I was staying with at the time was one of my was like a friend of mine and yeah, we kind of had like a falling out, and then I moved out, and so I moved my stuff from one storage unit to another one, and then that was a whole nother situation where
Yeah.
the storage unit where I had set all my stuff to, they told me, oh yeah, we can put you on auto pay. I gave them all my contact information, gave them my credit card information. I was like, I'm set. I'll just come get it when I'm ready. They failed to tell me two things. They don't do auto pay until after the first like payment.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. And then I should have had them verify all my information because my contact information they had was off by a digit. So they were trying to call
The wrong person.
yeah, so like they were like, "Oh, we tried contacting you," and unfortunately, when I was in California one weekend, you know how they send you like the FedEx, like you have 72 hours or whatever, and like it was like a certified letter. Never got it because I was in California.
So you lost your storage?
Yeah, so
Dang.
like and they sold it and everything else, and then I called them. I'm like, "Y'all never called me. What the hell's going on?" And they were like, "We've been calling you for months." I'm like, "Months? Like, what do you mean?" And
Dang.
then, yeah.
That sucks, especially if there's other important stuff in there. Hopefully you didn't lose too much.
No. It was primarily just, like, the body parts, which was, as you know, my Celica, I sticker bombed everything,
Uh-huh.
right? So, like, I lost...
It's pink and it's sticker bombed.
It's pink and sticker bombed. It was the Pink Panther. And so, I lost the sticker bombed bumpers, side skirts, spoiler, which I was really sad about because that was my baby. That
Yeah.
was like a project that I put together.
Those cars were so fun, dude. Like 6-speed manual, 4-cylinder with what do they call it? Not VTEC, but
VVTLI.
variable valve timing.
Yeah.
Man, those cars are so much fun. I used to have so much fun autocross in mine. And
I never got to do that.
dude, it was so good, man. Yeah, just learning to drive the thing, and like actually getting to see how fast you can go. Around a course is like it's super fun. It's very challenging, and then just like something that you built, getting to race it. It's just like the ice. It's such a treat.
Yeah, for real.
Something's going on with my phone here. What's going on? Why is it saying? Oh, okay. I see what's going on. The GoPro. It's the monitor for that. I was like, I thought this was like a microphone recording. I'm like, are we getting? Like I said,
audio.
normally I like to come in, have everything set up so I can just sit you down and start talking to you. But Jesus Chewy was gracious with me, and I had a recording session just before this, so didn't quite get to have everything already set up. But anyways, yeah, long story short, we're car buddies. Then we ended up working at the Big Dirty together.
Yeah.
And we both did security at the time. And yeah, that was a fun time. Let's see. And your girlfriend, she does music as well.
Yeah.
And so
She sings. She does like other various forms of art and stuff like that. Too.
yeah, Amia Nectar.
Yeah, me and Nectar. Yeah.
Right on, hell yeah! Shout out.
Yeah, let's go.
Hell
Get
yeah.
famous.
Yeah,
please.
yeah. Oh, also, so I noticed you rolled in with your motorcycle helmet, and so you got a bike. I was telling you I didn't know that. What do you got?
Yeah, so that's a fun story in itself. So you know how taxes returns come. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I got money, and I
Yeah.
had a really nice tax return because I did pretty good at where I work, and so I was like, I want a motorcycle. Years and years I've been wanting a motorcycle, and my dad always took us to motorcycle shows. So I was like, you know what? I earned one. I want one.
Hell yeah!
So I was on Facebook Marketplace, as most people do nowadays, and
That's such a place to score.
for real.
Oh man.
And so I found this one. It was a Yamaha 2001 Yamaha 650 V Star,
Okay.
and the guy wanted $3,500 for it. And I
I
was
gotta
like,
look at this bike. Let's see.
oh yeah.
You can keep telling me your story.
And
I just
so-
want to Google it.
The guy wanted $3,500, so I was like, I can buy it. I was like, yeah, I'll buy it. I still got enough to get helmet, accessories, and make sure I'm riding safe and sound. So I liked it on Facebook, but I was like, let me just save it for now, and then let me go look around and see what else I can find. Found some like Kawasaki Ninjas and stuff like that. Around the same-
3100 V Star, you said?
sorry, 650. Yamaha 2001 Yamaha V Star 650.
Okay, V Star
Mm-hmm.
650. I just want to see what it looks like.
Oh yeah, no, dude, it's a beautiful bike. It's olive
Oh
green.
wow, it's like a Harley style bike.
Yeah. It's a
Cool.
very classic style, and so it only had like 8,000 miles, 8,500 miles on it. So it's
wow.
like not even ridden. And so I liked it. And then like 3 days later, the guy, like, you know how like when you follow a post, it says like, oh, so and so dropped the price.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he went down $1,000 to
Sheesh.
2,500.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, send him a message. Hey, what's up with the bike? Has it been dropped? Has it been anything? Because my friends are all motorcycle heads. Some of them are motorcycle heads.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, what are the questions I need to ask?
Yeah.
And mind you, I still don't have a license at the time. Like,
Okay.
I didn't have a motorcycle license. I was like, I just want to buy it. You know, I was like, why not? And so I messaged him. I was like, hey, so, you know, I'm interested. Tell me about the bike and everything else. And you know how like when people have like, you can tell like when they're messaging, there's like a sense of urgency, quick responses.
Uh-huh.
It's like, yeah, man, you want to come check out the bike? Da, 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 da. I was like, yeah, like I was like kind of like, ooh, dude, slow down a little bit,
Like he wants you to buy it real bad.
yeah. And so I was like, and you're pretty firm on 2,500, and he was like, I'm flexible, and I was like, all right, well, let me see what I can do right now. I really like the bike, but I was like,
Just
well, let me see what I can
Being
do.
cautious, you're gonna spend that much money, you know, to make
Yeah.
sure you get something that.
Shit, I
runs
could have bought
and
another
works.
Celica.
Yeah, dude. I know those cars are cheap now, dude.
And
well, it depends on the condition.
mine's probably like maybe if I'm lucky 15.
Yeah.
Because it runs great. But he was like, well, I was like, well, let me let you know, like, because I got to move some money around. I got to see what I can get. And he was like, well, how much do you have? And I was like, I got like 19 right now. And he was like, come see the bike. Like, just come see the bike. And I was like, well, let me know, like, if that works out for you right now. Because he was like, just come see the bike and we'll talk then.
Yeah.
And so I hit my friend. I was like, hey, like, this guy's like willing to sell the bike. I think he'll take the 19 that I had. But
Yeah.
I had the money. I even had 3,500 ready to go. But I was like, let me see if I can
Yeah.
will and deal it. And so when I got there, we checked the bike out. It took a minute to like start. It's been a minute since he rode it. There's a couple little dings and dents on there, but I was like, barely. You have to actually look at it.
Yeah.
Wasn't dropped, good condition, low miles. And so my friend took it for a ride. He was like, dude, if he wants a 19, like, give it to him. And so after like 10 minutes of like just talking to my friend and like kind of looking over, I was like, I was like, so would you do the 19? Or he was like, yeah, you know, like I'm about to move in like 12 hours. Like I'm leaving. I was like,
Oh.
bet. So
Yeah.
gave him the cash in hand, took the pink slip, and then my friend wrote it home for me. But yeah, I was like,
That's awesome.
dude, this is perfect.
Yeah, it looks like a fun bike, dude.
Oh yeah, no, dude.
So what's getting your motorcycle endorsement like? Because I got a 50cc scooter right now that you don't need an endorsement for, but see, I want to upgrade into like a 125 or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna need to get an endorsement. I don't even know where to start.
That's a good question. I'll let you know when I find out.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me put it that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
I have been riding.
I have some friends that have them, and I think there's a course at Lane Community.
Yeah,
College.
it's like $250 and it's a weekend course. So there's like an online portion, and then there's like a in-person weekend where you have to dedicate it's like 3 hours, and they show you like how to turn, how to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen them in the parking lot over there, like doing the course with like bikes and scooters and stuff.
Yeah, at first when I got the bike, the only time they had availables, like they only do weekends, and so at the time I only had weekends available. And so now I'm like, well, I work weekends, so I can't do it. So I'll just learn how to ride it in the meantime.
Yeah.
And then I go to LA.
Like, how many speeds does it have, or like, what is it? Two cylinder?
It's a V twin. I'm not sure. It's a 650 though. But I don't know like that much information about it. I just know it's a
it's manual, right? You have to shift it.
Yeah. So it's very similar. So you know,
like
clutch
4 speed or what?
I think it's 5.
5 speed.
I think that one's a 5. Yeah. And so like the way it works is clutch. You hit the clutch and you go down first, and then you click up to go up in gears.
Oh, okay.
And then you click down to go back down gears. Into neutral.
First is just down, and the rest are up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be cool, dude. Yeah, I'll have to get an endorsement because I have like I said, a 50cc. It's just this like little Schwinn scooter that I got from my bandmate one day. We were practicing, and he like showed up, and he had it in like the back of his truck. We're outside just chilling, taking a break, and he's like, "I'm selling this thing," and he only wanted $500 for it. And I was like, dude, that's super cheap. Yeah, like, I want one. Let me get it. And then he had the title on him right there.
It's like he knew.
Yeah, like right at practice, he just signed it over to me, and yeah, scored it for that. And then I put a big bore kit in it. So
what is that?
Like basically like a bigger engine.
Oh,
you know, like engine upgrade. So it's like it comes with like a new cylinder wall, the valves, and exhaust pipe, and like some other stuff too for it, like a little computer chip for the air and stuff like
Takes
that.
your 50cc to a 51.
So yeah, well, it's like I think it's like 90, roughly like 90 cc's or something like that.
Oh, okay, so it's got a little kick.
Yeah, so the scooter that I have is a Schwinn, and it has this pretty like basic Chinese scooter engine in it called the GY6, which are like super gutless. They're like really slow. Like before I did the mod, I think it would do like 30 miles an hour, maybe. Like it was like 25, 27. It was super slow. And now it's not like it's like crazy fast or anything, but at least I can do 40 on it. You know?
Yeah.
I think I could do 40. It's pretty. It's got to be pretty close to that because the speedometer doesn't work. But like in traffic, you know, I can keep up with like 30 and 40. So it seems like that's how fast I'm going. I'm not sure exactly. I need someone to like drive next to me so I can so they can tell me. Look at their speedometer. They can tell me how fast I'm going.
Dude, yeah, I
haven't done that yet, but it's so fun to ride, man. Yeah, just whenever it's like sunny out and you know just nothing to do, take it for a ride. It's so much fun.
That's why I took the bike out today.
Yeah, everyone's cool too. Like when you see other riders, like everybody's always like waving and stuff. And it's funny on the scooter, like everybody's like so into it. They're like, "Dude, that's awesome," you know. Or people are like, you know, trying to get you to rev it up or whatever. It's fun. It's rowdy.
So that reminds me. So when I first got my bike, and the buddy who rode it to my house for me, he was telling me like all like the kind of like signals and gestures and stuff that people do on the road. So it's like, you know, like whenever you're riding. Well, no, like so if you see like other cyclists, like you'll do like a peace sign, like going down to say like, "Hey, what's up?" Or if someone like moves over or lets you go through, you know, peace sign, be like, "Hey, thanks."
Okay.
And then my favorite one is whenever you see a cop and you know you like, let's say you're riding and you see like a cop doing like a speed check, and you go further down, you see someone coming like on a bike, you'd be like, tap your head and be like, "Hey, cop ahead," right? And so like that's been like the one thing. Like,
you always do that one?
No, I haven't actually legitimately got to do it, right? And so I was like, oh man, I'm just itching for the day. Like I see a cop car, like just posting it, and then I see him. I was like, hey, I had one shot so far. One chance.
I would keep a radar detector in my Celica. Just it's I try not to be ripping on the streets. That's why I like to race, like doing autocross and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like sometimes it's a little tempting, But so yeah, I would keep a radar detector in there. But yeah, that's funny, dude. I never knew that one.
Mhm.
I don't. I guess I don't know too many of the hand signals. I know like left turn, right turn,
Oh, yeah.
and really, honestly, I think that's about it. Really.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know there's like a whole code for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's been cool riding the scooter. I got a bunch of friends that also have scooters. My buddy Nick, he's like a childhood friend of mine, and he lives here in town. He's actually the one that got me into scooters.
Mhm.
And he's got like a gang of them, dude. He's probably got like 10, 12 scooters in his garage at home.
Do they roll around like randomly some days and they just like they'll pop wheelies and stuff?
Yeah,
like,
they're always
I've
popping
definitely
wheelies.
seen them then.
Yeah.
I've seen them behind me a few times.
Always popping
They even
wheelies.
came to like the gas station I used to work at.
Yeah.
And like they were like, he was like, yeah, man, this is cool. I can pop wheelies. And we're like, do a wheelie.
Yeah.
And he did a wheelie. It was really cool.
Yeah, dude, they modify them so that the clutch will grab a little bit quicker. So the way that the transmissions work in the scooters, they don't actually have gears. They have what's called a centrifugal. It's like variable transmission or something. Like CVT, I think is what it's called. But basically, instead of gears, there's like one gear, and it's like kind of cone shaped, and there's this belt on it, and then so as it spins faster, basically it like it stretches the belt, and it goes faster because I guess there's more I don't know, more travel on the gear. But basically, instead of having like a bunch of gears to shift through, it just goes. You just hit the gas and it goes, and then like the gear expands and the scooter goes faster.
Oh.
So I didn't know anything about scooters until I got one. I actually started working on one, but that's just how you learn. Like same thing with the Celica. Like when I got it, it was my first car that I ever like had and was gonna build, and so I actually taught myself how to do the clutch swap because I put a stage 1 exidy clutch in my car.
Yeah.
And I also did a transmission upgrade. So I got a transmission that had a limited slip differential. So I watched like a ton of YouTube videos, specifically.
University, my
yeah, dude, YouTube University, just hours, and like taught myself how to do this, and then got the parts, and then did it in my dad's garage, and so that was a crazy experience and process, like and having never done that before, and mostly doing it on my own. Like my dad, he was there to help me, and my brother, he's pretty good with cars too, and they were kind of there like looking over my shoulder. But yeah, dude, it was wild. I just like watched YouTube videos and learned how to swap a clutch and put on a new transmission, and I did all kinds of modifications to that car: the clutch, transmission, the suspension. I had fully adjustable coilovers and everything, sway bars. And then I was trying to think, I had like wide wheels and tires on it, speaker, like sound system.
Yeah,
it
the
was,
JBLs.
it was pretty modded up.
That's right. Yeah, the JBL.
Yeah, it was a fun little car. And for anybody, I don't know anybody that doesn't know this, it actually got destroyed. I was sitting at a stoplight one day, and somebody was intoxicated driving. And I was literally stopped, like not moving at all. And then I got hit, rear-ended by this person going like 40 miles an hour. It was just like they didn't even, like I wasn't even there and the light was green. They just like plowed into me. And so yeah, that put an end to that car.
I know when he posted it too, I was so sad. Like
Oh,
I
man.
wanted to shed a tear because I was
dude.
like, that was
a lot of
your
people were sad for me
baby.
too, because like a lot of people were following that build. And like
I've been
I was doing
following
race
it.
events and stuff. And so yeah, it was a big bummer, but
I know he hit you hard because I remember
So
when we
hard.
went to go when I was like saying like, well, if you're gonna party, like, well, might as well try and take some. from
yeah,
my car.
I did end up parting it out too.
Yeah, and like the seat was like,
Oh, dude, the
bent.
seat was broken in half.
It was bent back.
Yeah, my driver's seat was
Yeah,
broken.
I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
dude, how do you do that?
Dude, it like crumpled the back of the car so much that it was funny, like where the spare tire goes, in the trunk, like it was just stuck in there forever afterwards because like the metal was like bent around the tire. So it was kind of crazy to see that, like that much force from that impact. It actually pushed me into the car that was in front of me and smashed the front of the car too. So yeah, it was crazy. But I did end up parting it out. I sold my engine and transmission.
You sold it to
And,
that one dude. We follow a similar
Was it Jody?
Jody.
Yeah, Jody's cool. He was one of my autocrosser buddies too. He's got a Celica and a BMW. At least those are what he had when I was doing that. I'm not sure if he's got both of them now. I think he still just has the Celica because he took that transmission and was gonna, I think, daily drive that Celica that he's got. But he had a GTS as well, manual 6-speed.
GTS for the win. Honestly,
Yeah, that's the way to go. If you're gonna get a 7th gen Celica, you have to get a GTS.
I feel so bad because I'll see Celica. I'm like, GTS. I was like,
It's a GT. Yeah. It's not the same car.
No, you. I don't know if you remember this, but like, there was this one kid, and I forget his name right now, and I feel bad because as I'm telling this story, but he had a really nice like dark blue Celica.
Oh yeah.
With the action package.
Yeah.
And he passed away.
That's right. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name either, but I did buy some parts from him. I actually bought my the wing that was on my car from him.
So his build was beautiful.
It was really nice
and it
car.
was a really nice car.
Yeah,
and
blue with white wheels, I think.
Yeah,
and he had a really
he-
nice body kit on there.
He
I
tried
can't
to
remember.
he
which
was
one.
racing me one day, and so he pulled up next to me, and we're going down West 11th, and so he was like, I was like, I mean, fuck it, like why not? Like, I'm sure he's got
Celica
like,
versus Celica.
So we took off, and like I was kind of gapping him a little bit, and I was like, something ain't right. So like we pulled in, he was like, overtime. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
And so we go, and I gapped him again, and then we got to the light again. I was like, GT. He was like, GT.
Yeah.
I was like,
I think the one cool thing about the GT though, I guess it seems like from like what I've studied, it's probably the easier one to turbocharge.
mm-hmm. You can't turbocharge or supercharge the GTS.
Well, you can, but I think it takes a little bit more because of the high compression.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the case. I don't know a ton, but my plan was eventually to turbo my car, and so I was kind of doing the research. You have to get like special cylinders, and
I think you have to get like specially fabricated like
Or-
exhaust manifolds and stuff like that.
well, you
too.
definitely need an exhaust manifold to mount the turbo to. There's so many parts that go into a turbo kit.
Yeah,
It's crazy, dude. Yeah, I was looking for one for my car, and I think like average like around like $4,000 for the kit.
Yeah, or if you're lucky, you can buy the turbocharger and actually mount it onto the mount that instead.
If you know somebody can fabricate really good, you could probably do that.
Yeah. Well,
But also,
we
it
knew a
takes some
guy-
rearranging. Like, you got to move your battery,
Mhm.
you know, and you got to, like, kind of open up your engine bay a little bit more.
I don't know if you've seen this. I follow. I used to be very active on the Celica like USA page or whatever it is on Facebook. And there's a guy who made a mid-engine
Oh, yeah.
V8.
Dude,
Celica.
that's right. Yeah, mid-engine V8 Celica. That's pretty cool, dude.
Yeah, I'm just like,
I've seen some crazy ones, too. I think there was a 2JZ Celica
Yeah.
build with it was rear-wheel drive. That'd be sick.
I wish
And,
they never would have got rid of that. What was that after like the 5th gen? They went to like front wheel drive.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. I think, the 5th. So that reminds me, what I was going to say is the 5th gen was a all-wheel drive version of the turbo all-wheel drive version of the Celica, or you could get it that way. I don't think they had them in the States, but you could. They
No,
had
no, I
them
think it was
in
in Japan.
Yeah, but they made a 7th gen that had the GT4 basically underneath of it, so it looked like a 7th gen, but it was the GT4.
Oh, dude,
Yeah, super sick, all-wheel
those
drive,
GT4s
turbo.
are
So good, dude. Yeah,
It's like
that's a dream car for sure. I feel like that for me, anyways. Like
I
that
feel
would be
like
a fun one.
Celicas are like Diet Supra. GT4s are like Supra lights, and then you have your Supra.
Yep.
And it's like, man, it's like it's crazy because it's like they're the same. They're literally the same car almost, except for it's just they have this amazing 2JZ engine.
Oh yeah.
And the only way now to really get one is either you own a Supra or if you got one of those Lexuses like
Oh right.
that have like the 2JZ.
Some of the Lexus do have 1Js and 2Js.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, that Supras are still a dream car.
Dude, absolutely. The new ones are super dope. I think now they're making them in manual.
Oh, okay.
Before they were like, I think only the slap shift, but I think you can
Oh
get
yeah,
them
the
manual
paddle
now.
shifters or whatever it is.
They have this like weird little like it looks like a like a regular shifter, but it's automatic.
Ew.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
This
kind
is
of
like Doritos, man. I can't get over
I know.
it.
I want to drive something with a clutch. I feel like nowadays, when it comes to like performance and race cars and stuff, like the automatic transmissions are getting better and better. So it's really hard to like outshift them.
Yeah.
But man, driving something with a clutch is just so much more fun.
Yeah, it's like I explained it to my girlfriend too, because I was trying to teach her how to like drive the Celica.
Yeah.
Because the plan was, because I went to LA, I was like, well, while I'm out and doing research at LA in UCLA, why don't you learn how to drive the Celica? Because our car is out of commission.
Yeah.
It's like, learn how to drive it. All you gotta do is just go to work and come back.
And she
It's
never
not
drove a
that hard.
stick shift?
Never.
Yeah.
And she was just like completely overwhelmed by how much stuff goes into driving a manual transmission.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not just gas and brake, gas and brake. It's like, no, gas, clutch, brake,
Yeah.
clutch, gas.
You gotta
It's
work
like,
the clutch.
there's so much stuff going on. And she's like, how can you do this? I'm like, it's an ADHD paradise. It's like,
It's so fun. You're so engaged when you're driving them.
yeah. And you
Oh,
have
man.
so much more control.
Oh, yeah.
Way more control. And it's
Yeah.
like the best thing in the world.
When I was driving mine, I could just like turn the stereo completely off and just listen to the car. It's so much, so much fun.
I need multiple forms of stimuli, man. I have the stereo.
Not that I
blasted.
wouldn't blast my stereo, but just like with the aftermarket exhaust and like having a stick shift, just listening to the car and shifting, it's so fun.
You know what's so funny? So, the one thing that's really funny about my car is a lot of people thought I modded the shit out of it. And I put a lot of work. You even thought you even messaged me one day. You're like, what exhaust are you using? Because like it had like a more of a crunchier sound.
Yeah.
And everything that was modded in my car, there was only one thing that was modified, like an actual modification. It was the air intake.
Oh, okay.
All I did was the air intake. That's the only aftermarket piece I had in there. Everything else was just like, I forgot what they're called. Like it was like janky mod or something like that. So like my neighbor who used to race cars and who I got the Celica from, his brother, he told me like, oh, so what you want to do is you want to adjust the throttle response. So now, like,
Oh, see, so and the year that your car was, your car had a different throttle body than mine.
Yeah,
where
I
mine was
had a manual.
electronic, and yours
Yeah.
was by a cable, so you could do that.
yeah.
Anyways,
So yeah, I adjusted the throttle response.
Mm-hmm.
I just put a couple washers in between, like where the exhaust connects. So like some of the air escaped from down below.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it gave it more of like, like
okay,
more
yeah.
of a crunchier
yeah,
sound.
yeah. I
And-
loved the sound of the intake because I had a similar one. I'm not sure exactly which one you had. I think mine was like just a cheap like eBay one, but the sound was really cool. You get from them, like when you step on the gas, it's like choom, choom.
Yeah, no,
You
I
hear,
didn't
like,
have any
suck
of
in
that.
the-
I
suck
wish
in
I
air.
did. Yeah, yours sounded like it had like a whole. Yours sounded like it just gulped.
Yeah,
air.
well, I had the NVIDIA N1 exhaust on it, and
got, like,
then
some-
that intake, it just sounded so good. But
I got some dragon, like some dragon name.
oh yeah,
one.
yours was crazy looking. That's
Yeah,
right.
it just looks really weird.
Yeah,
it's all
cool.
cheap chrome plastic, but it worked.
Yeah. So with the air intake, I felt like it sounded cooler, but I don't really think it did much for the performance.
Barely.
Actually, I think if anything, probably took away from like the down low RPMs. Once you get it like revved up, it is fine, but like down low, it would kind of bog a little bit.
Dude, it's like one thing I still love doing is like, you know how when you go over like start to like hit like 5,000 RPMs,
Yeah.
then you really hit that like
You hear the lift
that,
kick
yeah,
in?
and you're like
Yeah, yeah, like right at
so
6,000, because those cars can rev so high, all the way to like 8,200
It's
before
the
it hits the red
Toyota
line.
VTEC, you know,
Yeah,
it's
dude.
amazing.
So it's like you get up there, you're like, what? Then you touch 6 and you're like, yeah. It's so fun just to hit that every once in a while.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
God, I've been driving really semi-responsibly lately.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
good.
Just because it's like it's the only car that me and my girlfriend have that
Mhm.
I can drive around in with her.
Yeah.
Because she'd be damned if she got on the motorcycle. She's
Yeah,
just
oh,
like,
yeah.
she's like, no, absolutely not. And a part of me is kind of like, yeah, I don't want her on there either, just because it's like, just me riding alone is like, I'm okay with it. But if I had somebody else on there, like, I feel like it would spook me.
Like it riding with somebody behind you, like
yeah,
two people on there. Yeah.
just 'cause it just
Well,
seems
and there's like
off.
you got shifting weight and stuff too.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
I
you're
think
taking
that's what it
turns.
is.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, no, I gotta take care of this Celica.
Yeah.
And
Or
Do it.
two, you know, you feel bad if like take off and they're like not ready and somebody falls off or something.
but then that's when you get the shirt that says, "If you can read this, the bitch fell off." Like one of my favorite things whenever I see.
I've
like, a
never seen that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So like I said, when I growing up, I went to motorcycle shows, and you can see it. Like some
Yeah.
motorcycles are just like beefy looking dude on the back, and with that the slogans like, "If you
Yeah.
read this, the bitch fell off." It's like I always thought it was the funniest thing ever.
That's
Can't
funny.
own one though, because I'm sure Molly would be like, "What, I'm a bitch."
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, God forbid, no.
My brother's got a really cool bike too. I kind of want to show it to you real quick.
Yeah, pull it up.
I'm just gonna
Let's take a peek.
I'm gonna pull him up here real quick. Yeah, I just noticed the camera died, but that's all right. I'm just gonna keep recording audio. So I've been experimenting with so I usually use my Sony camera to record these podcasts, and I've been having this weird issue where so if anybody out there is listening that can help me with this, let me know, because I've been having this issue where the audio that I record from my computer and then the video that I record from my isn't that beautiful?
That
What
is such a
it?
nice
It's a Harley
bike.
Davidson.
It's definitely a Harley. Yeah. The only thing
Yeah.
I don't like about the Harleys is like that windshield. It just kind of makes it look like a praying mantis a little bit. It's a nice bike. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. Like those things are just amazing and they sound fantastic. But
It's probably like a comfortability thing having that big thing up there, I bet you.
Yeah.
And like also you can probably fit a lot of speakers in there. and
yeah, it's
you don't get
it's
a lot of
definitely
wind
a
up.
touring bike. I
Yeah.
believe is what they're also called.
Looks like it's got some aftermarket stuff on the exhaust too, maybe. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyways, that's his bike. Pretty cool. He actually upgraded that one. He had another one that was white, but I think he sold it.
I'm about to make a
But-
controversial statement right now.
Oh.
But realistically, as much as I like the look of Harleys, I actually don't like the
Yeah.
bikes. I don't like.
If I was gonna get a bike, I probably wouldn't get that style. I probably would want to get like something more like along the lines of a street bike.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
But dude, that stuff is crazy, man. Like those things are so fast, dude. And to go that fast on a motorcycle, that's scary, bro.
No, you know it's scary when you
Jeez.
first like. I don't know what your experience was on your scooter,
Yeah.
but when I first got on when I actually like finally got the cojones to like actually go on the bike and like at least try and move it.
Yeah.
Just even moving like just a little bit and feeling how much actual power that thing had.
Yeah.
Even at 650, it's not super fast by
Yeah.
any means. It's fast, but not super fast. But just like how quickly it was able to like start moving, I was like, oh. And then like when it got like how quickly it goes to like 10 miles an hour, 20, it's like it's a whole different feeling. It's like it's like a roller coaster.
Yeah, I never actually ridden anything like that. I think probably the biggest thing I rode is a dirt bike, honestly.
Yeah, it's the same idea, but the difference with the dirt bike though is they're up, down, down, down. But yeah, no, I think if you've ridden a dirt bike, you kind of have that idea then, depending on like how many cc's it was and how fast it went. But yeah, like mine's, it's like it was just like exhilarating because it was like, oh god,
Yeah,
like
it's so fun to ride around on two wheels.
yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
it's
It's
so
like
fun.
and it makes me like really appreciate the fact that like I worked hard enough and
Yeah.
well, I don't know if I would say I worked hard, but
You earned it.
well, I worked hard enough to get that nice tax return to really afford one and
Yeah.
get everything that I needed for it.
Yeah.
And but yeah, no, it's definitely something that I want to continue this endeavor. I want to get another one. Like my plan is because next couple months, it's like I won't be able to ride it for like 6 months out the year
Right,
until like
yeah.
next May.
I know, unless you're hardcore.
No,
But, I usually put my scooter away too. Like, or at least I've only had it for I guess a year. But yeah, it's in the wintertime it's sitting most of the time.
yeah, so I'm gonna go take it to California and I'm gonna gift it to my dad.
Oh,
Like,
cool. Dude,
like
that's awesome.
I was like, I know my dad is never gonna ride it. Like he loves motorcycles to death, and I know he'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And I know he's gonna put some time and effort into it. Like
right on.
I remember we got him a bicycle, and we're like, oh, he wants to ride his bicycle around and like get used to it. Man, that man spent hundreds of dollars. Got like saddlebags for his bicycle, got a new handlebar wraps, put like tassels on it, got a really nice seat, everything. Never once rode it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I know he's going to take care of that motorcycle. Plus, if I when I go back to the Bay, whenever I go home, I'm about to be like, oh, hey, I can go ride my bike,
So where are you from?
So I grew up in West Pittsburgh, Bay Point.
Okay.
Up until about whatever the age is for sixth grade, like 12 or 10 or something like that. And then we moved because where we grew up, it was getting a little rowdy for my parents.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we need to start separating. We want to raise them so they're in like a they want to make sure that we're not going to get into trouble.
Yeah.
Well, that shifted really quick because after we moved there, so I remember like initially like where we had moved to a town called Antioch, which is like 2 towns over.
Mm-hmm.
There
This is you said in like 12th grade you moved.
like no, like when I was like 10 or 12, something like
okay,
that. Whatever sixth grade is.
Okay, I got you.
So we went to school in Antioch, and when we first got there, like I know like one of the big things was like people moved over there because they were like, oh, Section 8 housing is starting to shift from Richmond, which is where a lot of like people were coming from, Richmond over to like Bay Point and stuff. So like, oh, well, let's move 2 towns over, get there before any of the issues, and then even like a lot of like the housing and like I remember my parents were telling me when they bought the house, they signed like a paper saying that we do not want Section 8 housing in this area whatsoever. Which apparently that got thrown out because it was like, I forgot what like the actual word, but essentially they were like, you can't do that. You can't tell people they can't live here. So after like 3 years of living there, like Section 8 started moving in, and and I have no issue with Section 8. Like a lot, like some of my good friends actually came from like Section 8 housing. Like,
Yeah.
But like there is a negative connotation that does like kind
Your
of
parents, like you said, were just trying to make sure you guys didn't get into trouble.
Oh yeah, no.
And you guys had just moved there, and then now,
Like a few years later,
things are
yeah,
kinda
that
changing.
happened. Yeah, and the crazy thing is too, it's like, I mean, grew up in a house full of boys. We're gonna get into trouble.
How many siblings do you have?
I have two. I have two older brothers. I'm the youngest of three.
Okay.
And my oldest brother joined gangs. So he was like in a couple of gangs. So he was like one that was like brown pride, like Latinos, like you're like, oh yeah, brown pride. Da, da, da. And then he started hanging out with like some sureños, which is like, their color is blue, 13, everything else. And then he started hanging out with some other friends, and they actually kind of got him to start hanging out with Norteños, which is like 14. Their colors are red, it's like the Bloods and whatnot. And man, when I talk about like this kid was a troublemaker, he was a troublemaker. Like this motherfucker like was fighting all the time, doing drugs. I remember one time I went into his room, and like I was just going to ask him a question, and like he was like mid line. I was like, I didn't know how to respond, so I'm like. Okay, and I just closed the door. I was like, I don't know how to respond.
Dude, it's so crazy because I'm born and raised here, and I've spent some time like in and around LA, and I guess just California in general, but never really had to like think about or deal with like gangs or anything like that, and yeah, it's just interesting. Like down there, like you might not even realize that you'd be wearing a color, and somebody will say something to you.
Yeah,
they're like, "What?" Are you like, "What's going on here? What are you trying to do?" Kind of a thing. You're like, "Whoa, I didn't even know. What's up, bro?
Yeah, I think that's why like majority of my clothing that I wear now is due to the fact that like if I wore the wrong color, I would be
it's just
seen
kind of
as
a
one thing.
subconscious
So
thing that's ingrained into you.
So I stick with more like natural earth tones, like dark greens, blacks, stuff like that. Like rarely will I ever wear something that's more red or more blue or anything like that, unless it's like a jersey, like a baseball jersey, like that's common, you know. And even like with like being in LA, like people can wear like a blue LA jersey and you might not think twice about it at first.
Yeah.
But if like that's like their primary wardrobe, then you might be like, But and I'm not even from LA. I don't even know why I brought that up. But yeah, no. So like a lot of my tones are more like earthy. I think the most red I'll wear is like my red flannel.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like.
So you grew up there, and then you go to school. You study, was it neuroscience? Or what do you?
Yeah. So it took me forever to go to school too. So I initially was a biology major, and then I shifted over to chemistry.
Where did you start going to school, or where do you go to school?
So I started at Los Medanos, and so I went to Los Medanos, which is LMC, go Mustangs, and then I graduated over there, and I got, like 5 AAs out of it. So I got like Associate of Arts, Liberal Arts, Math and Science, Chemistry and Biology. I got like 6 actually, because then there's like another certificate for just completing what's called the IGETSI.
Yeah.
And then I transferred over to U of O. And I went to U of O for like a term and a half, and then COVID happened. And that's when like things kind of got topsy-turvy. And so like I took a break from school because I was like...
Is that when you started working at Big Dirty?
No, that's when I started. So when I first moved here in 2018.
Right after the pandemic?
Yeah, so I came in during 2018. So I did a year at U of O, and then I stopped because of COVID. And there was like just like so much stuff going on, like online academics. I can never do online school. Like I'm so bad. Like I said earlier when I said like ADHD,
Yeah.
Like it is bad.
Yeah, it's maybe a little nicer when you're, I don't know, there's a benefit to having a teacher there in front of you, kind of motivating you to,
And
or,
when-
you know,
and-
having to go to a class versus like all you have to do is turn on the computer and there's all these other distractions. You're in your
Yeah.
own home or something.
Yeah, and like some of the teachers too, like they would go to like wherever they originally resided in. Like one of my teachers went to Russia, and so like he would be available for lecture, and then he would be like, office hours is later, and if you need to reach the TA, well, whenever you reach the TA would be like, I'm not 100% sure. Like, let's, bring this up to him. And then when you get to his office hours, it was so crowded, and like it was just so much going on. I was like, it's not even worth even asking him.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up failing like almost all those classes because like I didn't know what the hell was going on. I couldn't get the help. YouTube helped out a lot.
Yeah.
But even then, it just like, and to me, like failing in C's or anything below a B is like a failing to me. And so like I was like, man, I can't do this shit.
Well, especially when you're going for something like that, you know.
Yeah,
You said
and-
you started out in biology and then now you're doing neuroscience.
So I moved over to biochemistry, and then after the pandemic, like when like online classes, people were going back to classes, I went to Oregon State.
Okay.
And that's when I got into genetics, and I was like, dude, genetics is kind of cool. Like, you think of the Punnett square, it's like, ooh, X and Y, and then you can see all
Yeah,
the
I was like, I was asking like, how do you get into this, or what got you started? Like,
So my teacher, so she was actually a really cool lady, and Molly Burke for the win. I took her class, and it was just like I just needed to, how you have to fill in like your schedule just to kind of meet requirements for your degree. And so I took her class in the spring term, and she was an amazing teacher. She explained everything really well. It was a very engaging class. She worked with you, so it wasn't just like and like I hate classes that are very much what's the term on PowerPoint. I hate PowerPoint lectures because it's like all they read something, skip. It's like you blow through like 20 slides, and it's like it's only been like 10 minutes. So like she would go through like a PowerPoint, but she would write on her iPad, so she would do the work in front of you. So like I got to like really absorb what was happening in genetics and kind of learning like about like epistatic interactions and all these crazy stuff. And so I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. So let me get into let me take the next class associated with that, which was evolution. So I took an evolutions class, and
that'd be super interesting.
Yeah, no, and that was a cool class. And then I started working with Mark Phillips, who is my current PI. I work in his lab. And so I did evolutionary genomics with him, but he taught evolution, and then I learned a lot about that class. And then I was like, well, what's the next class? And it's a mixed class. I forgot what the term is, but it's a mix of graduate students and undergrads. And so it's like, you don't need to take this class, but if you need to fill in your class, like this is one class you want to take, especially if you want to go to grad school. So I was like, well, let me get in. So I took this evolution and genomics class, and that class was weird because it was like, I've never had to taken a class before where there's really no right answer. Like, like if I go to math class, 2 + 2 is 4.
Sure.
But in this class, it's like, well, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And you can give an actual argument for both.
Oh, yeah?
And they can be right. Because we don't actually know.
Because we don't know.
Yeah. And so one of my favorite questions that she had asked us as a group, and there's a theory associated with it, and I forgot the name of it, but it was like, what came first, protein, DNA, or RNA? And we know from the fact like DNA is like the building block of everything, like all of our information stored there.
It's the code, it's the information.
Yeah, and then we have RNA, which is what we when the DNA unwinds, RNA comes in, and we create this like source code or this a sequence, and then that sequence turns into proteins, right?
Okay.
In a nutshell, so what came first?
So like RNA is kind of like the mechanism.
No, RNA is like so you know how like when you have your helix shape and then you unwind, and then if you break it apart, RNA is what's made from the DNA, and that sequence that is made.
Like
like we have DNA, right? So I have my fingers up. So we have RNA, like when it unwinds, you get 2 strands, right?
Okay.
And then as they separate, new strands are being made, but then what's being copied in these strands is the complementary strand to the DNA.
Okay.
And that complementary strand is now sent off to go eventually get made into a protein that we need for our biological functions. And so she asked us that question, what came first, RNA?
Yeah, so what do you think?
I was like, that's a hard question. I was like, RNA? Because I'm like, But then I'm like, I was thinking so many people were like, DNA. Someone even said protein, and which would make sense.
Well, I was thinking maybe the protein, because that's the substance itself, right? And then
So it's what's made from the DNA.
yeah.
So the current working theory is it's actually RNA that came first.
Okay.
So what it was is you have this all these amino acids that are lining up, creating that can be used to create this protein, right? Well, if we have this RNA that's being made, and like I want you to kind of think about this. You have this RNA. It's like, well, how do we store this information to make this protein?
Mm-hmm.
Well, think of DNA as like a USB stick.
Okay.
Like it has all the information. You put your information there, and when you need to pull from it, you pull from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the theory is RNA came first, and then DNA came second, and then proteins were also made from that.
Mm-hmm.
So RNA is like, oh well, this code, the sequence of amino acid works. We're gonna save this into like a DNA strand. DNA will now form its double helix, and when we need to, we'll unwind the DNA, and then we make the RNA from that, so that way we know which protein to make and how to make that protein.
Like reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the working theory.
Dude, it's so crazy, like, to think about all those, like, the questions they answer to the universe, like, why are we here? How do we get here? You know, all this stuff. It's actually kind of interesting. I had a conversation with somebody, I think it was like last week, and they're like kind of a religious person, and I think that they were kind of learning how to talk to people, maybe not necessarily to convert them, but like to just maybe pick their brains and figure out like what they think and kind of compare and contrast like what they think as well. But it's all like really interesting because I feel like nobody knows what happens when we die or where we came from or anything. So, and then there's people that'll tell you that they do know, and then I think that's kind of peculiar. But I feel like I don't know. To me, it seems like the mechanics of the universe, like say, I don't know exactly where I'm going with all this, but I'm trying to maybe trying to illustrate maybe what I think. I never really thought too deep about this, but
it's kind of a rabbit hole when you start.
It is,
get into
yeah.
it.
It's like what did a god create all this, or is it like just the elements and molecules of the universe arranging themselves how they do
Just
over and over?
miraculously or something
Yeah,
like that,
and the
yeah.
things that are successful continue to survive and thrive and evolve, which is kind of what I think. It's like I think like the universe is like a lot of energy and materials.
Yeah, energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
Yeah, and it's weird because like our bodies, we're almost like planets in ourselves. Like,
Yeah.
we have all these like bacteria and microorganisms
The gut biome,
that make up
microbiome.
us. But like what what is our conscience? And
That's like when you get into like psychology, that is like the real question. Like, what is the conscience?
Yeah.
And like,
is
the
it like a
conscience
collective
real?
of all of the beings inside of us, wanting us to survive and so that they can survive, like just like how like we live on our planet and we want it to be around forever so we can continue to live on it. It's a deep question.
Well, if you want to get into a fun like rabbit hole,
Make
like,
sure you're talking to them.
Oh yeah. So one thing that if you want to get into a rabbit hole is start looking at like, don't even just like look at like as yourself as a whole, but start like looking at like certain other things. So like if you take like a really zoomed out image of like the universe, and it starts to kind of take a familiar shape.
Okay.
And so one of a picture that my friend showed me the other day, it looked like a neural network. It looked like a network of like brain cells and stuff like that. But it wasn't. It was the interconnected ness of like the universe, like how like stars and galaxies connect, and it almost looks like a neural network. And it's like, whoa,
those patterns that you kind of see over and over in nature, like like branches from a tree. And then you look at
like
a
veins.
cardiovascular system in
Yeah.
a human, and then you zoom out, you look at the galaxy or whatever, and it's like these patterns that keep repeating over and over.
Yeah, and so like you can start looking at that and be like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like I don't know the answer, and
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite lines too, and I think it's what kind of centers me a little bit to my physics teacher, Dave Nakaji. He told me about this book he read, and it was an autobiography regarding this physicist.
Okay.
And on his deathbed, somebody asked him, they were like, "What do you think there's an afterlife? You know, what do you think is going to happen when you pass?" And one of the best responses I've ever heard is like, "One life at a time." And like when he said that, and I can always reach out to him. It's so hard to get a response from him sometimes. But what that did for me though is it kind of made me like realize it's like, you think about like how people live their life, and especially like, even those who are religious, and I have no issue with religion. I think I think religion's beautiful in a sense.
Yeah,
it really does this, but like people put a lot of focus on like the afterlife, like go to church, they're like, oh, we're gonna go to heaven and we're gonna do this, and this is why you got to be a good person.
Be a good person, earn your way.
Yeah, and it's like, but then it's like you're so focused sometimes and hyper fixated on like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Versus like, well, if we don't know what's actually going on, why don't I just kind of know, like, I mean, we have, a lot of us have like morals. We know the difference between what's good, bad, what's right, and what's wrong. So as long as I'm living a life in which I'm following a good set of standard, like a set standard of morals, then it's like, let me just enjoy what I have here.
Yeah.
Because, if there is something on the other side, I know I haven't done anything bad. I haven't said anything bad. I haven't done anything bad. And I feel like I'd be set.
Yeah.
Like, but if there isn't, and then it's like, well, I got to enjoy my life, and I got to enjoy what was here at the time.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. Like, I kind of like agree with you on a lot of that. And then there's like people who think like, if you don't like, you could do all those things, you could be a good person your whole life, but if you don't like accept that, Jesus
Lord and
died on the
Savior
cross
Jesus
for our
Christ.
sins and all this stuff, that you won't go to heaven. And it's just like, how do you know that? Why do you like? I was like brought up in a Christian household, and even went to private school for a long time up until like I started going to high school. But yeah, it's just like, nobody knows what happens.
We
after
don't
we
know.
die. So,
Yeah.
and it's just, like I said, kind of weird when people act like they do know. We have this the Bible. I've never actually I tried to read through the Bible completely once, but I actually wasn't able to get too far. It's it's dense, dude.
It's like trying to find a good book. It's like, let me start with like the Giving Tree first.
Yeah,
Where's the pictures?
So yeah, I don't really know what to make of that. And then there's these like wild stories that like, well, how could that like actually have happened? Or if there is a creator, like, why would he let certain things happen? And it's just like, it's a big question.
Yeah, no, it's a big question.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing, it's like, because I mean, we're pretty. I'm 30. I just turned 32 back.
Yeah,
in
I'm
July.
34. I just turned 34 in June.
So yeah, so like, I think the one thing that kind of it's kind of funny. It's like, how the thing is growing up is like, you get the older you are, the wiser you are. It's like, it kind of like, it really is such a true statement, because it's like, you start to like really, as long as you're open minded, like you're not just closed minded, like, no, what I think is what I think. And
Yeah,
what
it's
I
the
know.
only thing that could be.
Yeah, and it's like, I've kept an open mind. And there was this one guy, he was an astrologist, and he kind of said something that was kind of cool. He was like, if you think about it, regardless of what you think of religion and everything else, it's like we all came from one massive explosion. We are all a byproduct of the Big Bang. And I was like, that's kind of cool. So we're like stardust.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, at least if you think about it, like, I'm stardust.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too to think about, like, maybe the universe and nature itself is God. It's just like I said, like those patterns that keep recreating, those codes, like that's maybe that's what it comes from. And just like I said, it's just like rearranging of atoms and molecules that just tend to stack up this way, you know, and
It's all by chance.
yeah, it could, you know, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
it's you just got to be open minded, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like why I have like a hard time sometimes like trying to grasp religion without having like a conflicting thought with like what I know now
Yeah.
with science and
And like you said, you know, like I'm happy for people who believe that. Like I'm not like completely against it or anything. You know, I was raised in it and stuff. It's just we don't know.
yeah.
That's it.
But I mean, hey, you know, choose what makes you happy. I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell you no.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for some people, you know, I feel like it's if anything, it's like you know, they maybe like a moral compass for them, or you know, just a code to live by and try to be a good person.
Yeah, no, like so like and like this is why like I said like if it works for you it's good. Like this guy I know his name's Matt. And when I first met him like square like L7 weenie Sandlot reference for those who don't. But like I was like this guy's a square, but like he's such a good man, like always smiling, always in a good mood. He doesn't want to cuss or anything like that. And then one day, because we worked during the pandemic, and so like I was like, well, like, what's your story, man? Like, let me hear about you. And he was telling me like before like he got into before he became Catholic, like he used to do drugs. He used to do like drink alcohol. He did like a lot of things that would constitute like, you know, like, hey, throw this man in prison for the rest of his life. It seems like,
Oh, okay, yeah.
not like murder or like
Yeah.
assaulting people, but like, you know, like drugs, selling drugs, buying drugs, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like, but then it's like when you meet the guy, you're like, no, man, you'd probably cry if you ripped toilet paper. You know, like why? Like who is this Matt? Like I don't know him, but no, he told me like that's what he did, and then he had found religion, and like such a happy guy. I mean, like now he's dating some girl in Mexico, and like you know how like some people like you'll be like, man, that's what a real relationship looks like that, like when you see him like with this like girlfriend and stuff like that in like Mexico, and they're like enjoying like dude. Such a beautiful interaction. Every time I see him, I'm like, man, I'm so happy for you.
Right
Like,
on.
you look so happy.
Yeah.
And that's what religion did for him. And it's like, that's why I said, like,
How could that be bad?
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
we're so no harm, no foul.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not like imposing your beliefs on other people or, you know.
Hey, my name's Jesus, and I mean that truly. Yeah. You want to talk about science today?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man, that's so cool. Like, that's, yeah, good for you. I mean, that's a really crazy long pursuit, I'm sure. How long have you been going to school for?
Oh, man, it's been years.
Yeah.
Let's see, because, like, I dropped out of college, legitimately, like, dropped out, like, 3 times.
Okay.
Because I would go, the first time I went, I literally was paying hundreds of, if not a couple thousands of dollars just to hang out with friends.
Yeah.
And, like, get C's in a PE class. Like, who the fuck gets a C in a PE class? Like, bro, you just show up and dress up and walk the lap or do what you're supposed to do, and it's supposed to be an easy A. Nah, I got a C in that class. And so I left, I came back. Then I left again, and I was like, let me try something different. And I became a CNA. And then I was like, dude, like, this guy I worked with, and I have to make sure I follow HIPAA laws. But this guy I worked with, he was taking this medication, and he had dementia, Alzheimer's. And, like, when I first met the guy in the morning, he was just like, what? Couldn't stand up. He, like, his body just wasn't functioning. And they took this massive horse pill. And I mean, like, it was a big pinch. Like, think of, like, your pinky and, like, cut, like, it in half, and it was, like, that big.
Damn.
Like, it was a big-ass pill.
Holy shit.
And so he took that pill, and then, like, within the hour, it went from somebody who couldn't do anything for themselves, couldn't really hold a conversation, wouldn't even talk to you, went to from that to reading a newspaper and drinking OJ, holding a conversation, talking to his wife. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Wow.
Like, I thought I was here to help this guy. This guy's doing fine. And the lady was like, make sure you're back by 3:30. I was like, 3:30 is pretty specific, but I'm like, okay, you know, like that's like I got like 4 hours to kill. I'm getting paid no matter what. So went to the store, grabbed some lunch, went to the park, you know, looked at some ducks, you know, fun stuff. And then I came back, and when I tell you I saw a rapid acceleration of Alzheimer's like happening in front of me, horrifying, man.
Yeah.
Like horrifying. This man went from talking to like jumbling over his words, not being able to hold himself up. Like at one point, like we had to walk into the bathroom because we were getting ready for put him back in bed essentially. And he was only like functional for like a few hours. Like to like pissing on himself, can't even hold himself up. I had to like literally like carry dead weight.
What is this drug that can make someone do that or like
And I
turn over?
cannot
Like
remember because it was a trial medication, and I had wrote it down, and my backpack got stolen like 3 days later, and it was pretty sad.
So like,
One of the perks of living in the Bay, you know,
Yeah,
you look
yeah.
one way.
That's just crazy though. Like to think that they could do that with a pill.
Yeah, and so I think that was like the final like the straw that broke the camel back in my sense. Like that was the final spark to really ignite. Like
You're
me.
like, wow, I can really help people or something.
Yeah,
Like
and so I always wanted to be a doctor. Like that was goal number one. It's like I'm gonna be a doctor, and then that easily faded away when I started reading like certain books, like Do No Harm by Henry. I forgot his name 100%, but the book's called Do No Harm, and he was a neurosurgeon from like the UK, and that's what I'd want to do. I'd want to focus more on that. And like when you want to talk about not having time for family, this man was like married, divorced, had kids, divorced. Like it was crazy. And it's like you could be at like your like kid's graduation, your kid's birthday, your kid's first whatever, like very pinnacle moments of like a child's development, and you have to leave.
Yeah.
Like who would want to do that?
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I can't be a doctor, man. Even if I specialized in something else that wasn't like neurology or anything like that, it's just like, I don't want to do that because I do want to be a family man. I do want to have kids eventually, and I want to make sure I'm there for them. And so that's why I was like, I want to get into research. And that's why like I was doing biology first and then biochemistry and all this other stuff. And now with genetics, that's where my focus is now. I look at metabolomics, which is like looking at metabolites, and we're looking at metabolism rates, like every aspect. Because you think of metabolism, you think of like
Burning fat.
You're burning fat, you're digesting and stuff like that. Well, there's things called metabolites that are like present in like everything, like our heart muscles, like they're everywhere. And so we look at metabolic rates like throughout everywhere, and our model organisms are fruit flies. And so that's what I do. We look at this and we kind of like we do like different like things to them. Like one of the things that we do right now is kind of like we alter their diet for high sugar diets, and then we kind of see what happens there. I don't know if I'm supposed to share like detailed information.
That's
so
super interesting.
But yeah, no. So we kind of do that, and then where I was at. So like for 2 months, I was at UCLA.
Fruit flies, huh?
Yeah, dude.
What a crazy animal to pick to do that
Well,
on.
dude, they're amazing. Like, and it's funny because like I'm talking about a.
I mean,
fruit
why
fly.
fruit flies instead of like mice or something, you know?
Well, so I mean, just like mice, they reproduce rapidly, so they're perfect. So we can get years of evolutionary data within the span of a year, versus like with humans, it's like we got to wait 9 months just for the baby to have to come out, and then we have to do all this. So
That makes sense.
And so fruit flies are nice because one thing that's nice about them is that after 30 days we get a life cycle out of them, typically. And so you think like every 15 days you get a new generation of flies. So like you have generation 1 to like generation 15 within like a month and a half, 2 months. Like you get so many flies, right? So it's like, okay, cool. No, it's like more like a couple months. But you get all these generations of flies, and then you can,
Test them.
do what you're supposed to do, and you can get a lot of this information from them. And one thing that's crazy is fruit flies from their larval state to death is about, I think it's roughly about like 30 days. Our fruit flies that we have in stock are living up to upwards of 100 days.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
And if you think we did something crazy like put some like serum and we did some like mad scientist like the raise them up during a lightning storm and
Frankenstein
shock
shit.
yeah, some Frankenstein shit. No, we didn't do anything like that. The only thing we did is we only allowed certain eggs to survive, and we just let that continue.
So
We
you're
just
choosing evolutionarily the ones that you think will have the best.
Nope.
No.
So like imagine taking like saying like, okay, for a human, like you can only have babies at the age 20. Anything if you had kids before and after, like
Chances
they're
of
not
it
viable. We
surviving.
don't want them. No, we just don't want them.
Uh-huh.
So we would just put them in the freezer and just call it a day, right? So that's all we did was that we would pull eggs from like day 15. And then those are the ones that would survive. And then anything afterwards, sometimes we'd let them survive. But we only pulled eggs from this day. And what we got from that was flies went from like living like 30 days to like 35. So we extended how many days they live just by specifically choosing like that.
Wow.
And so we continued that process. And eventually we have flies that are now living in cages for like 100 plus days. I think when I left, they were at like 100 and I think the longest ones that were there, and there were still quite a few of them, but they're like ready to kick rocks. But they're like 104, 105 days old.
Wow.
It's like, damn,
I seen
like
something that I think they had reversed aging in dogs with some medication or some pill or something.
Wouldn't that surprise me at this point? I mean, like the way we are able to like look at the information we have, and like even AI, dude, like as much as I hate to say it, like AI has made it so much easier for us to like conceptualize and create things. It's like, yeah, it would not surprise me because you think of like one of like the biggest issues with like aging is like oxidative stress. So it's like think of like rust, you know, like when oxygen becomes more present and prevalent, it like starts to rust metals. Well, same thing kind of happens with us. Is like we start to get like oxidative stress.
We got plaque in our arteries and stuff, right? Like,
that's just from poor diet.
Okay.
Like, and I'm one to know poor diet. Let me just say it that way.
But you're okay. So you're saying like this is stuff that doesn't even have to do with
not even your
the
diet.
choices you make and how you live your life.
It's just natural wear and tear. You know, like, and so that's why like they say like one of the big things like if you were trying to like look young and stay healthy, what's the one thing they want you? What kind of foods that have this kind of like antioxidants? Which is like we don't want it, oxidants, antioxidants. And if we're looking at oxidative stress, because of the effects of like oxygen has on it, it's like if we ingest more blueberries or acai berries or whatever, they have all these antioxidants. It's gonna help like keep us young and healthy and looking young forever.
Right.
But it's like no matter what you do, like we can't do that. But if we can figure out the pathways and be able to like reverse some things just by, you know, a pill or two, like there's ways that I think we can do it. And I think they were saying that by the time within like the next couple decades, humans could potentially live upwards to like 150 years old. Now, what does that mean? Okay, cool, we can live 150 years old. But
that'd be cool.
I mean, we're still gonna age, so we're not gonna look pretty at it. We might look like. Do you remember SpongeBob the chocolate episode? The lady at the wheelchair.
Oh
like,
yeah.
What are they selling? like we can look like that, but I mean, like.
Yeah.
I mean, but like, and so then at that point, it's like, well, what can we do now? I mean, like, shit, we can take a.
You can make heart. You live that long, but are you gonna be, functional when you're that old?
I'm not gonna lie though. I think one thing that has always interest me as a kid, it's like, well, if I can keep my brain healthy, but my body doesn't age, like, what if we could do something cool? Like, you ever see like the brain in like the tube with all the bubbles and shit like that? And
or
just,
like
the all-knowing.
What's
brain.
that movie? RoboCop, the new one, where they like put like I think most of him is just like his like lungs and his brain and his heart and stuff, but then the rest of him is a robot.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like how cool would that be? Like I'm cyborg. It's like
that'd be pretty wild,
dude. I'd be like, I'm doing the robot, and it could just be me doing like the flossy
fully
dance.
Integrated with technology at that point.
Mean, we're on the path of that.
I know, yeah, it's pretty weird.
Like you see, like that one guy, he spent like years like developing like a hand that takes electrical impulses from like people who are amputees.
Oh, I haven't seen
like,
the one with electrical impulses, but I think there's one that like goes off of your muscles, like your flex.
Yeah, that one.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and so like it's like the muscles that flex and tense like mimics like it can now recreate like.
Is it
graphing.
actually integrated into the muscle, or is it more of like?
I think it's reading like maybe like that's why I said electrical impulses. I'm not 100% sure,
yeah,
but I'm assuming it's reading something.
It seemed like more it was like a flex kind of a thing. If you flexed it, then the hand would close.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff, like Neuralink. You know, they're like these wires that like go into your
brain.
into your brain, and dude, that stuff is wild, man.
Yeah,
That's scary. I don't know, dude.
I
you
don't,
know, like we were talking about like the religion thing and the stuff like they, you know. I don't know, you know, if you subscribe to it or not, but in the Bible, like they say, you know, the mark of the beast will be on your like your hand or your forehead or something. Like it kind of seems like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like they put this chip in your head, or you have your smartphone in your hand all day, every day.
Well, it's so funny because, like, you know, I remember, like, what was it like? Maybe like a decade ago, like not even a decade, like 5-6 years ago. Like there was that, like, it was like people were getting like the NFC chip in their hand so
Oh,
they
that's
can make
right.
transactions. People
Yeah.
were like, that's the mark of the beast, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, I can see that, but then I'm like, nah, stupid, it's our phone. Like our phone
Or
is literally like tracking us every step of the way. And then
yeah.
like even with like people like during like COVID pandemic, you know, 2019, people were like, there's microchips in the vaccine, and they're gonna flip a switch one day and you're just gonna die or whatever. And like they're like, well, I mean, you're worried about microchips and you're holding like a
Phone
computer,
every day, all day in your
you're
pocket.
wearing wireless headphones, and
Yeah.
like that, you don't think that that can be transmitting something into your
Yeah.
head. Like,
Or I mean, or just social media, dude. Like that's constantly putting things in people's heads, you know?
I have such a love-hate relationship with social media, and
Same.
it bugs me.
Dude,
It's like
same.
I want it, like I enjoy the brain rot when I enjoy it,
Yeah.
but then it's like I start thinking of like the psychology behind it, and it really takes away from the fun, because like you start to really recognize it's like what they say, like, oh, people only post what they want people to see.
Yeah.
And like I'm
That's
like,
true. I use it to like promote a lot of like my music and stuff like that, my projects and
oh, you
things.
playing footsies?
Yeah, yeah, try playing. But so I do it for that, but then I just get so sucked into it, man. Like I'm just on it for hours, like a day, and I'm just this is not productive. I feel like maybe even like my eyes are like getting weirded out because of it. Just
Have you done
scrolling.
this where it's like you get rid of one and you immediately replace it with another one? Like I like, for instance, like I got rid of TikTok because I was like, man, I'm
Oh.
spending hours like
Yeah.
scrolling on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because you get that instant gratification.
So what I would do is like I would put a time limit on like certain apps, but the problem is if I feel like is everything is on the phone. You know,
Yeah.
it's like so you know maybe you limit yourself on social media, but you still want to listen to music. You still maybe want to listen to or watch YouTube videos. You know, your calculator, your money, your camera, like everything is just in that one spot. So it's so hard to even get away from it if you delete stuff like social media. It's like it's still such a tool that is like part of your everyday life, you know?
Yeah, and like I mean, like kind of stepping back, but like you remember how we were talking about like integrating with like technology
Yeah.
and being like, I mean, we're already in the starting steps of it. I mean,
Yeah.
like if we need to like manage like our finances and everything else, it's on our phone.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it's gonna get to a point where it's like it's part of us. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you'd be like, brain, how much do I have in my Cash App? It's like -$5. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like now I know.
I
I'm
think like
broke.
eventually that's the goal, right? With stuff like Neuralink is just to be able to think a thought and not have to like pull up your phone and you know it just
I
right
will
there.
never participate in like anything
know,
like that,
dude.
because like think about like hackers now, like shit,
Oh,
they
man, they
take
hack your
down
brain.
T-Mobile, like hijack these massive
Well, and they do
telecommunication
like, dude, have you
companies.
seen those? I think there's like these cockroaches that they can literally control like a robot.
Yes,
They like put these chips on them in their brains, and they can like tell it to go left or right. And
Yeah.
like I think they're using them to like find victims that like have been like buried in like rubble,
Yeah.
and stuff. But dude, yeah, like imagine you know somebody
Pigeons aren't real.
hacks into your brain chip, yeah, somebody hacks into your brain chip and you know makes you go rob a bank or something for them.
That'd be kind of cool though. I
That'd be
mean,
wild.
like, but it's like you remember that episode of SpongeBob where like Plankton put like the thing on SpongeBob's brain. He's just like moving
Yeah.
his arms back and forth,
Yeah.
and making SpongeBob do it. It's like essentially that's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's like we have a little Plankton and all of us just going like, like get the Krabby Patty formula.
Essentially, yeah, essentially. Let's see. We're coming up on an hour and 15. I gotta go. I gotta go.
You gotta go, huh?
I gotta go. Do sound tonight at Lucky's. I was supposed to get there at 8, so we have a little bit of time. But I just wanted to see before we wrap up if there's anything to go over. I was explaining my camera thing, so I wanted to put this on here because, like,
yeah.
if anybody can help me with this, like, please help me because, so. Like I usually record the video on this podcast with my Sony camera, and then I'll record the audio on my laptop with a recording software, Logic Pro, and then I go to edit them together. You sync up your video and your audio, and what the problem is I'll line it up and it'll be in sync for a while, and then as it goes on, it like becomes out of sync. So like, you know, in the video, it'll look like you're saying this part, but the audio is actually maybe like a couple seconds forward or behind.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually it like drifts off from being in sync. And I know that I posted on Reddit one day, and somebody sent me a
Reddit.
really great detailed kind of like explanation of like basically what's happening is the clock in the camera is slightly different than the clock on the computer. So,
makes
like how long is a second, basically, according to the computer and the camera. Well, if they're not the same, eventually they're going to get off. So I think there's devices like that you could maybe plug the camera and the computer into to sync to us to the same clock. But I don't know. I've never seen anything about how to set that up or just how to
YouTube
actually.
University, man. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a video out there.
Yeah,
but
you're right. I mean, I probably should go deep diving on that. I've been kind of just searching a little bit here and there. Like I said, I posted on Reddit, and somebody sent me a really great explanation, but not really necessarily like here's the product you need to solve it. So if there's anybody out there that's listening that maybe has a solution, because I want to keep doing these podcast video. The first couple ones that I did are all audio. I just put a picture as a thumbnail and just play the audio, and then I've been doing video, but I've been running into that problem, and so either I've been like fixing it by every once in a while, every few minutes, just lining things back up,
that's
or
so much work.
it's so much, yeah, it's a bunch of work, especially when you're doing it like in an hour, 2 hour podcast.
You have to
You gotta
re-listen to
you gotta
everything.
readjust it like every like 5 minutes or something. So yeah, I'm just like trying to troubleshoot that and figure out how to fix that, because like how do people make these other podcasts that are the same or more hours in length, and what are they doing? So I'm just trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah. Well,
I'm all self-taught.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's kind of like, like when you watch like podcasts or like shows, is like they also alternate between like cameras. So like maybe like because they're able to like offset like with those like.
Well, I thought about that. Like if I had multiple camera angles, like as I switch, I could be scooting things back into sync here and there. Again, that's a ton of work, but I mean, also that's part of editing and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, if you think about it now, too, I mean, like we were talking about technology earlier. I mean, like phones nowadays, dude, like the newest iPhone right now, the 15, dude, that thing's a massive beast of like a piece of technology. Like, dude, it has like 48 megapixel, like 4K video quality stuff. It's
Absolutely.
like shit. At some
They're
point,
legit cameras. Like you can use that and film good stuff on them.
Yeah. So like, I mean, imagine what if you just got like a newer like iPhone and just like ran thing like connected the iPhone to like everything else. Like, I mean, that thing does audio record too. So I mean, like, and they have like things now where you can like you can straight up plug in like a hard drive into the phone now, and you can record straight to the device.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. There's lots of really neat gadgets, but I think there's like I think it's just like some kind of a hub that I need to figure out how to plug my camera and my computer into, like, and then it should sync them up. But I've never seen anything like that. So
honestly, I mean, like with like podcasts now, I feel like there has to be like that ultimate like podcaster kit for like a couple $100, and you get. Granted, you don't need like. I mean, you have like amazing.
It's weird though,
mics.
because I haven't like heard other people talk about this. Like I follow Reddit's podcasts are whatever I don't know what to call it, page, but
subreddit.
Yeah, subreddit. Thank you. I'm scrolling and I'm trying to see if like other people are having this issue, but I haven't really seen or heard much about it. So
I'm sure maybe they're not thinking about it as like, just all you got to do is get this for like $20.
Yeah,
it's like a little chip or something.
And for people who are thinking like, well, maybe because one thing that it could be is like, you don't have the same maybe like frames per second or like bit rate, or I forget what they call it, like sample rate.
Yeah, it's outside of my knowledge.
So basically like I think you have to make sure like the settings on your video editing project match what you recorded on your camera. Like, so how many megapixels and how many frames per second are you shooting? Because that could get it off too. And I've been checking that, like trying to make sure that that's synced up, but I still haven't really solved it. So, anyways, I just wanted to put this on here so that if anybody's listening and can help me,
Please.
yeah, like give me, shoot me a message and try and help me out.
What was it, like 20 minutes and the camera died?
Yeah. So this time I recorded it with a GoPro camera because I wanted to see maybe the clock is a little closer or something on the GoPro camera versus the Sony camera. I don't know. The Sony camera is a higher quality camera. I feel like so it should be the other way around.
Well,
but
GoPros also use like a fisheye lens, right?
yeah, there's a couple different
there's
settings in there.
There's a few things that
Yeah.
are different, right?
So we'll see. I'm gonna put like the little bit of video that we got from today on this video, and I think gotta get ready to go here pretty soon.
For real.
Man, thanks for coming and chatting with me. This is really cool. We got to get your girl in here sometime too.
No, like I remember we talked about doing this a long time ago.
Yeah,
We just
for
haven't
sure.
gotten around
I know.
to it.
Like I'm really bad about being consistent with this, and I want to do better. I would like to be doing this like once a week, but like my track record has been terrible. I'll do like a 1 or 2 podcasts, and then I'll take months off.
Yeah.
And then
dude, like just like with anything in life now too, it's like you want to do one thing, but like life catches up. It's like, I can't do it.
There's so many things, man. I mean, it's like, it's exercise, like running and jujitsu, and
that's right, you do jujitsu
and then
now,
lifting weights. I try to do one session of each of those a week, and then work and playing drums and music projects, and
you're a busy man.
It's easy to get buried. Yeah,
Yeah.
try to stay busy. Yeah, for sure. But anyways, I don't know if there's anything else that we should. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton we could go over.
Oh
but,
man, there's like we got stories. I mean, we got big.
I mean, we
dirty
could do this again
stories.
anytime, man.
Yeah. Like, I'm like I said, like I'm taking. I told you in the scenes that like I'm taking this term off just because like I got nothing better to do. I need to take a break. I don't want to worry about anything right now. Only thing I want to worry about is just making some money, taking a break, having some fun before I move on to the next part of my life, which is a PhD program. So it's like I need a little break.
Just a little breather.
Yeah, because I mean, like,
because
I can graduate. I mean, I can still make the decision to finish now, but then I still have to wait till September because I applied a PhD program starting September, and then like I still don't start again until September. So even if I finish now or finish later, I still have a lot of time in between. So it's like I might as well take a few months off from like everything.
Yeah.
Focus on just having fun, kind of getting
yeah.
back to my roots of like traveling and stuff like that, and just go back to it.
Awesome, dude. Good
I'm
for
free.
you.
I'm free. Yeah, let me know when you want to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you let's do it again before you get too deep back into school. So
You got me to the end of the year.
yeah. Okay. Cool, man. Well, thanks again, and
Thanks for
dude,
having me.
this was awesome.
All right. Woo.